Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be diving into AI and copyright.
Ooh, very timely.
Yeah, we've got this fascinating report, actually, fresh from the U.S. Copyright Office.
Oh, wow.
Copyright and Artificial Intelligence, Part 2, Copyrightability, from January 2025.
I feel like this is going to be relevant for quite a while.
I think so. It feels like every day there's a new AI tool that can create something amazing.
Yeah.
But it raises so many questions
Yeah.
when it comes to copyright.
Absolutely.
So for this deep dive, I thought it'd be helpful to kind of break down this report into 5 questions.
Okay.
5 essential questions that get to the heart of the issue.
Love it. Let's do it.
Okay, so question number 1, the big one. Can AI-generated content actually be copyrighted in the U.S.?
So the report is pretty clear on this one.
Okay.
If a human isn't the primary creative force behind the work, then it's a no-go on copyright.
So it's not enough to just like feed an AI a prompt and say, I made that.
Exactly. And the report really emphasizes the concept of human authorship as like a cornerstone of U.S. copyright law. It goes all the way back to the Constitution.
So what exactly makes a human the author in the eyes of copyright law? That's question number 2.
So it all boils down to original creative expression, not just effort. You can spend hours, even days, tweaking a prompt, trying to get a specific result out of an AI. But if the AI is the one making the key creative decisions, it's a very gray area.
It reminds me of that old saying, monkeys typing Shakespeare.
Right.
Even if they eventually produce Hamlet, they didn't really author it right.
That's a great analogy, and the report actually dives into a few legal precedents that are relevant here.
Oh, interesting.
Including court cases that look at the difference between effort and true authorship.
Okay, so human authorship is key, but AI tools are getting more sophisticated all the time.
Absolutely.
So that leads us to question number 3. How does the line between human and machine creativity get blurred as AI evolves?
Yeah, that's a question that even the Copyright Office is grappling with.
Right.
The report acknowledges that as AI gets more advanced, the law may need to adapt.
So we may be looking at a future where AI is less of a tool and more of a creative partner.
Potentially, but for now the focus is on the current state of AI.
Okay.
Where it's largely considered a tool, albeit a very powerful one.
And this isn't just a U.S. issue, right? That brings us to question number 4. How are other countries approaching the question of AI and copyright? Are there international differences?
Definitely. The report touches on how countries like Korea, Japan, China, and the UK are handling this new technology, and it's really fascinating to see how these different legal systems are approaching it.
Are there places where an AI creation could actually be copyrighted?
Yeah, there's actually a really interesting case in China where a court did grant copyright to an AI-generated image.
Really?
But a really crucial detail of that case is that there was a lot of human input involved.
So it seems like that level of human involvement is a crucial factor across the board.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, but let's not forget about the bigger picture here.
Right.
That brings us to our final question, number 5. What's at stake here for creators, companies, and the future of creativity itself?
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting and really thought-provoking.
Yeah.
The report talks about the potential economic and artistic implications of this.
Right. Like,
will recognizing AI copyright encourage even more art and innovation?
Right.
Or will it just completely flood the market with AI-generated content and potentially harm human creators?
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It is. It really is. And the report really dives into this in a very interesting way.
Okay, so we've got our 5 big questions laid out. Let's start tackling them one by one.
Okay.
Let's rewind back to question number 1. Can AI-generated content be copyrighted in the U.S.? The report seems to say not really, but I'm curious to dig into the reasoning behind that. What are the specific criteria that make something copyrightable, and how does AI fit into that?
So the report lays out a few key factors. It has to be an original work of authorship, which means it's independently created and shows some minimal level of creativity. And crucially, it has to be fixed in a tangible medium of expression.
So like a spontaneous AI-generated melody that's never recorded wouldn't be protected.
Exactly. It has to be something that exists, beyond the ephemeral.
Okay.
The report uses examples like, a painting, a sculpture, a novel, or even a computer program.
But it's that original work of authorship part that gets tricky with AI, right?
Exactly, and that's where the report leans on a long line of legal cases that establish human authorship as the bedrock of copyright. So it really boils down to who is making the creative choices that shape the final work.
So it's less about the effort involved and more about who is actually driving the creative process.
Yeah, that's a really key distinction.
Okay.
And the report walks us through some interesting court cases that illustrate this.
Like what?
So for example, there's a case involving a photographer who arranged and took photographs of a compilation of phone book listings.
A phone book? Not exactly what I would call creative, but go on.
Right.
Yeah.
But the court actually found that the photographer's choices in selecting, arranging, and capturing these images didn't demonstrate enough creative expression to warrant copyright protection. So even though it took effort, it wasn't considered original enough.
So even with human involvement, there's a threshold for what's considered creative enough.
Exactly.
For copyright.
Exactly.
That makes me wonder if I'm using an AI tool, but I'm making a lot of choices about how to use it. Am I the author?
Oh, the report gives us some guidance on that.
Okay.
It uses this metaphor of AI as a tool, like a very high-tech digital camera or paintbrush.
So I'm the artist and the AI is my fancy new brush.
Exactly. The report suggests that if you are the one guiding the process, making the key decisions about composition, style, overall expression, then you're likely the author. You're like the director of a film, and the AI is your very, very talented crew carrying out your vision.
That makes sense. But wouldn't it get tricky if the AI starts making more and more of those creative decisions on its own?
That's where we'll pick up in part 2.
Deep divers, stay tuned. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We've established that in the US, at least for now, human authorship is at the heart of copyright. But as AI evolves, that definition might need to evolve too.
Welcome back to Deep Dive. We're unpacking this dense but fascinating report on AI and copyright.
Yeah, and really kind of grappling with that big question of who gets the credit and the copyright when AI is involved in creating something.
Right. We left off talking about how U.S. copyright law hinges on human authorship. But AI is getting so advanced, it can feel like it's making creative decisions.
Right, and that kind of takes us to our second big question.
Yeah.
What exactly makes a human the author in the eyes of the law?
Right.
It's not just about effort.
Yeah, that's what's tripping me up. Like, I could spend hours, fine-tuning an AI prompt, trying to get a specific result. Like, is that enough?
So the report says not necessarily.
Okay. It's really about demonstrable human creativity.
Okay.
Those choices that give a work its unique character.
Right.
Simply describing what you want isn't the same as making those artistic decisions yourself.
So even if I write like the most detailed prompt ever, if the AI is kind of interpreting it and filling in the gaps, it's not clear-cut that I'm the author.
Right. The report actually highlights a legal case. It's the Rose Enigma case.
Okay.
And it kind of illustrates this. So an artist used their own drawing as input for an AI, and they were able to successfully copyright the final work.
So they used their own art to prompt the AI.
They did, yeah.
That's clever.
And they were careful to disclaim the AI-generated parts.
Oh, okay.
So they were really focusing the copyright on their original human-created elements that were clearly visible in the final piece.
Hold on. So what does disclaim mean in this context?
It means they explicitly stated that they weren't claiming ownership over the parts that were generated solely by the AI. So they were acknowledging the AI's role, but emphasizing their own unique contribution.
So if I use like my original song to prompt an AI, and then I add a bunch of my own lyrics and melodies on top, I could potentially copyright those human additions.
Potentially, yeah. The report highlights this idea of using AI to build upon your existing creative work.
Okay.
Your original elements would need to be clearly identifiable, and you'd need to disclaim, the AI's contribution.
So it's like I'm using the AI as a collaborator.
Yeah.
But I'm still the one steering the ship, so to speak.
That's a great way to think about it. The report actually uses the analogy of an artist using a new type of paintbrush or a musician using a new instrument.
Right.
The tool can help you create, but it's still your artistic vision guiding the process.
Okay, that makes sense. But I'm guessing it gets more complicated as AI gets more sophisticated.
It does.
Which brings us to question number 3. How does the line blur as AI evolves?
So the report acknowledges this is where things get really tricky.
Yeah.
Because as AI becomes more autonomous, it becomes harder to pinpoint exactly where the human creativity ends
Right.
and the AI's contribution begins.
Like, what are some examples of AI that blur the lines?
So imagine an AI that can compose a symphony based on a few keywords,
Okay.
or generate a photorealistic image from a simple text description.
I mean, we're getting pretty close to that already.
We are, and that's why the report really emphasizes this need for ongoing evaluation and potentially even adjustments to copyright law as AI continues to evolve.
So it's a moving target.
It is.
But we have to start somewhere.
We do, and even with these super advanced AIs, the report still suggests that human involvement is still key
Okay.
for copyrightability.
Right.
It's about those choices, those artistic decisions that shape the final work.
It almost makes you wonder what creativity even means
Right.
in the age of AI.
It's a question that philosophers and artists have been grappling with for centuries, and now AI is adding a whole new dimension to that debate.
So speaking of different perspectives, let's zoom out a bit and look at how other countries are handling this AI copyright puzzle.
Yeah.
That's our fourth big question. Are there international differences?
Oh, absolutely. The report takes us on this fascinating global tour
Okay.
of different legal approaches. So it starts with Korea,
Okay.
which actually has a guide
Wow.
specifically addressing AI and copyright.
So they're kind of ahead of the curve on this.
Yeah, you could say that. So they've outlined several factors to consider, like the level of human intervention,
Okay.
the nature of the AI tool, and the originality of the output.
What about Japan? Are they thinking along similar lines?
So they're also taking this case-by-case approach,
Okay.
focusing on factors like the purpose and process of creating the AI-generated work and the relationship between the human user and the AI.
So there's some common ground there.
Yeah.
The emphasis on human input and the specifics of how the AI is used.
Definitely.
But are there any countries where AI creations could actually be copyrighted?
Yeah, so the report mentions this really intriguing case in China. A court there actually did grant copyright to an AI-generated image.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That seems to go against everything we've discussed so far.
It does, but there's a really crucial caveat.
Okay.
The court found that the human user had provided extensive and highly creative input,
Okay.
effectively shaping the AI's output
Okay.
to reflect their artistic vision.
So it wasn't just a case of feeding the AI a random prompt.
Not at all. The court really recognized the human's role as the driving creative force, even though the AI was the one that ultimately generated the image.
That's fascinating. So it seems like even if the law doesn't explicitly recognize AI as an author, courts are starting to grapple with, how to handle these increasingly complex situations.
Exactly, and it really highlights this need for flexibility and nuance in applying copyright law to this rapidly evolving technology.
Okay, so we've got a good grasp on the legal side of things, but this is the deep dive, so we need to go deeper.
Yeah.
That brings us to our fifth and final question. What are the bigger implications of all of this?
Yeah, this is where things get really, really interesting.
Yeah.
The report really delves into this, the potential impact of AI copyright or lack thereof on human creators, big tech companies, and the future of creativity itself.
Okay, let's start with the human creators. Are they going to be replaced by robots?
So it's a valid concern. The report acknowledges that, there is potential for job displacement in creative industries as AI becomes more capable.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right?
Right. It's not all doom and gloom.
Okay.
The report also highlights the potential for AI to actually empower human creators. Give them new tools, expand the boundaries of what's possible.
So it could become like a collaborator.
Yeah.
Helping artists bring their ideas to life in ways they couldn't before.
Exactly. Imagine an architect working with an AI to design a building that's both functional and aesthetically stunning, or a musician collaborating with an AI to compose a symphony that blends human emotion with machine precision.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing. But what about the big tech companies? Where do they fit into all of this?
That's a crucial question. They're the ones developing and controlling these powerful AI tools.
Right.
And the report really highlights this potential for tension between companies who want to claim ownership of everything their AI creates and individual creators who feel like they should have rights to the work they've prompted the AI to generate.
So it's a bit of a power struggle.
You could say that, and the report really emphasizes, the importance of clear contracts and licensing agreements when using these AI tools.
Okay.
You need to understand upfront who owns what and what rights you have as a user.
So read the fine print, people.
Exactly.
But beyond the legal stuff, this really raises bigger questions about what we value in art, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The report dives into this philosophical territory. You know, if an AI can perfectly mimic the style of a famous artist, say Van Gogh,
Okay.
is that new creation truly art?
Right?
Does it have the same value as a genuine Van Gogh?
That's a great question.
And it gets even deeper.
Okay.
What if AI can help us unlock new forms of creativity? You know, new ways of expressing ourselves that we haven't even imagined yet.
Wow.
Would we even recognize it as art?
This deep dive just went from legal to existential.
I know, it's really fascinating stuff.
And that's the beauty of it.
It is.
This is just the beginning of the conversation. AI has the potential to completely reshape the creative landscape.
Yeah.
But we need to be thoughtful and deliberate about how we integrate it into our society.
Absolutely.
Deep divers, we've covered a lot of ground. We've explored the legal complexities of AI copyright, the international perspectives, and even the philosophical implications. But this is just part 2 of our journey. Welcome back to the deep dive. We are in the midst of exploring this fascinating and sometimes mind-boggling world of AI and copyright.
Yeah, we've been kind of dissecting this U.S. Copyright Office report. And you've really been asking some great questions about what it all means.
Well, this report has definitely sparked a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
We've tackled the legal complexities of human authorship in the age of AI. We've taken a whirlwind tour of international approaches.
Right.
We've even dipped our toes into some pretty deep philosophical waters.
We have.
And now in this final part,
Yes.
we're going to look ahead and try to answer that 5th big question we posed. What's at stake for the future of creativity itself?
Okay.
All right, let's gaze into our crystal ball. What do you see happening as AI gets even more sophisticated?
Ooh.
Are we talking robot artists taking over the world?
I don't think it's quite that dramatic. I guess not yet.
Okay.
But I do think we're going to see a significant shift in the creative landscape. You know, AI-generated content is already becoming more and more prevalent.
It feels like every day there's a new AI tool
Yes.
that can write a poem or compose a song or create a movie.
Exactly. And as those tools become more powerful and more user-friendly, I think we're going to see more and more collaborations between human creators and AI.
So instead of replacing human artists, it could become more like a creative partner.
I think that's a very likely scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine, you know, a musician working with an AI to compose a symphony, or a writer using AI to generate plot ideas or even dialogue for a novel.
That sounds amazing, but wouldn't that make it even harder to determine who the author is, especially when it comes to copyright?
That's a great question, and it's something that the report touches on.
Okay.
It predicts that as AI evolves, we may need to rethink our traditional notions of authorship.
So instead of single author, we might see more works with multiple creators,
Yeah.
including AI.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility, and it could lead to some interesting legal challenges, you know?
Right.
How do you determine ownership and profit sharing in those situations?
Yeah, that's something for the lawyers to figure out, I guess. But beyond the legal aspect, what about the impact on the art itself? Will AI-generated content be just as good or even better than what humans can create?
That is where things get really, really interesting. So, you know, some people argue that AI will usher in this new golden age of creativity with works that are more complex, more imaginative, more technically impressive than anything humans could create on their own.
Right, and then other people are more skeptical.
Yes.
They're worried that it'll lack.
Yeah.
That certain something, that spark of human emotion and experience that makes art truly resonate with us.
You've hit the nail on the head,
Yeah.
you know, and the report doesn't try to predict the future,
Right.
but it does emphasize the importance of this ongoing debate.
Yeah.
It's a conversation we need to have as a society as AI becomes, you know, more and more deeply integrated into our lives.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners, all those deep divers out there who are curious about the future of creativity in the age of AI?
I think the key message is that we're at this really pivotal moment. AI has this incredible potential to both enhance and disrupt the creative process.
Right.
And it's really up to us to decide how we want to use this powerful technology, you know?
Should we be embracing it as a tool for artistic exploration, or should we be cautious about its potential to overshadow human creativity?
Those are questions with no easy answers.
Yeah.
But I think by engaging in this conversation, by exploring the legal, the ethical, the philosophical implications of AI and copyright, we can help shape a future where creativity flourishes in all its forms, human and machine alike.
So, deep divers, what are your thoughts? How do you see AI changing the world of art? Are you excited about the possibilities, or are you a little bit concerned about the potential pitfalls? Let us know. We'd love to hear your perspective. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.